Okay, so I'm going to do a video on my expectation of how you're going to use the quadratic formula. First, you have to have your quadratic written in this form equal to 0. Has to be equal to 0 for this to work. And the formula is going to have two parts. The first part is finding d, and d is called the discriminant. And what it does is it discriminates between what kind of zeros you're going to have. So you could have two real zeros, two imaginary zeros or complex zeros, and two repeated root, which are a repeated zero. So that just means the same numbers repeated twice. So when you find d, you should always do a quick look to see, first off, if it's greater than 0, equal to 0, or less than 0. If it's less than 0, it depends on what you're doing in class, but typically if you're looking for a real solution, you're not going to continue. It's not going to have one. So the second part of the formula, after you find d, is going to look like this. And typically it's written like that, minus b plus or minus square root of d over 2a. And sometimes, depending on your instructor, d is this formula they have up above. I don't like doing it that way. I want you to find d first. And then we're going to substitute the d into the formula. And you'll have the case where it's plus and the case where you have the subtract. And again, we're going to do most of these using calculator, get approximations. And I want you to use parentheses in the proper location. So going down to this one, first example, it's equal to 0. It's a quadratic. And next thing we have to do is check to see a, b, and c, what they are. So a is -3, b is -4, c is 11. And then we're going to use our formula for d and just plug it in. I'm going to write d a couple different ways. Sometimes I put d's and a's and c's in parentheses, like I'm doing over here. Whatever you want, but always put the b in a parenthesis, then square it. And if you don't, you're going to get the wrong d, which will throw everything off. So you should, on this one, get 148. So I would pause this, check it with your calculator, make sure you agree. And once you're sure, continue on. So since 148 is greater than 0, this means I have two real zeros or two real roots. So we'll go to the second part, where we actually use the formula. And I'm just going to plug in my a's, my minus b's, my c's into this. So you have to be a little careful. Minus b. Well, b is -4. So minus a -4 gives you a +4. Put in my 148. I have 2 over 2 times -3, and I should have parentheses right here. Most of your calculators are going to insist on putting that parenthesis in, so you should always have that parenthesis as well. And when you calculate this out in one step, you should come up with these two zeros, and that means the parabola is going to approximately cross at the x-axis at those two coordinates. Scroll down to another one, and here I have 7x squared plus 5x minus 9 equals 2x squared plus 8x. I have to get this equal to 0, so I'm going to take these and subtract them to the other side. And I'm going to simplify it, combine like terms, until I get this quadratic here equal to 0. I pick off my a, my b, and my c. Again, I go right into d and plug in what I know. Again, it's greater than 0. So that's going to imply that I have two real zeros, two real roots. And again, down here, I'm going to add these parentheses just for emphasis. You should always have these. And when the dust settles, you should end up with those two zeros. Again, that's where it's going to cross the x-axis, approximately. Third example, we could factor this one, but I'm using this for a particular reason. Again, pick off your a, b, and c, find your d, and we get 0. So this is a repeated root. And when I continue on, and again, just for emphasis, when I put the 0 in for d, I want you to think about what's really happening there. That's going to all be 0 here, so I get 12 plus 0. Well, that's 12 divided by 2 is 6. 12 minus 0 is still 12 divided by 2 is 6. My zeros are the same. That's a repeated root. and it's going to touch the x-axis. It's not going to cross it. I know it's just touching because there's no other number. It can only touch at a vertex. So I know I have a vertex at 6, 0.